19th century Indian Renaissance, its causes and context. India came directly under British rule in 1857. British supremacy through the East India Company began to assert itself only with the Battle of Plassey in 1757. Prior to that, the English East India Company was at work in India since 1600, slowly but surely bringing India under the British domination. In 1600, Queen Elizabeth I had granted charter to the London-based East India Company to trade with the East Indies. As such, it came to India only for trade, and the British Empire was established in order to provide a settled and just government to make commerce possible. But British influence between 1600 to 1800 produced particularly no reform in India. In 1857, the Indian Army rose up in revolt, and it was this incident that compelled the British Parliament to bring India directly under the British rule. Conditions in India during the 18th and 19th centuries. Around 1800, India was in a pitiable condition. Neither the earlier Hindu government nor the Muslim rulers who ruled from the 12th century succeeded in creating or maintaining peace. As such, India had not known peace during 1200 to 1800 AD. Even under the best Mughal rulers, there were frequent fighting. There were no reform movements during that period. During the 18th century, Indian civilization and culture were at their lowest. There was not much development in the Hindu religion. No important book was known to be produced in any of the Indian languages. Due to lack of appreciation and patronage, indigenous arts were neglected. Old works of art disappeared due to ignorance and carelessness. Some items were taken away by foreigners. There was no creative work in any of the field during the period. Caste system and untouchability. Rigid casteism was one of the major social evils of that time. According to Hindu religion, caste is determined by birth. There are several castes and sub-castes. Some are considered high and others low. The Brahmins, those belonging to the highest caste, were considered as gods, while the Shudras, the so-called low caste, were denied the right of learning or even listening to the Vedas. Beside the low caste, there were large numbers of outcasts who were considered as untouchables. The so-called high caste considered that they would be defiled if the shadows of the untouchables fell on them. There were neither interdining nor intermarriages between the high and low castes. In fact, those who actually produced wealth through their hard labor were kept away from the fruits of their labor by cunning manipulation of religion by the Brahmins. According to Brahmanism, the Brahmins were created from the head of the Purusha, Kshatriyas from the shoulders, Vaishyas from the hip, and Shudras from the feet. Such an understanding of creation justified the hierarchical society. They did not care what happened to others. Every aspect of life was governed by the caste rules. Caste councils meted out punishments to those who broke the caste rules. There were no schools and people lived in ignorance. Only the three upper castes, Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, learned the Vedas mostly at home. Prohibition of foreign travel. It was considered a sin to cross the seas and to go and live in foreign countries with peoples who have different cultures. If anyone did go, he lost his standing in his caste unless he underwent purificatory rites when he returned to India. This discouraged people from going abroad for studies, and people lived in isolation from the rest of the world. Low status of women. Hinduism has had a very low status for women. Manu prescribed that a woman should be under the control of her father before marriage, under her husband in marriage, and under the control of her son in old age. Thus, a woman was allowed no freedom at any stage of life. The higher caste believed that after the death of the husband, the wife's chastity and faithfulness is proved only by the committing sati. Sati is an act of widow entering the pyre of her dead husband voluntarily or involuntarily, most often involuntarily. Such a woman was regarded as Sati Mata. Those widows who refused to jump into the funeral pyre were not allowed to remarry. It was considered evil for a widow to remarry, whereas a widower could remarry as many times he desired. Such was the discrimination between the sexes. Due to such customs, there were many child widows and youthful widows who had to live the rest of their lives in much sorrow and seclusion. In some communities, their heads had to be shaved and ornaments removed. The kinds of clothes they were allowed to wear were the saffron colored saris. They became slaves in the households of their relatives. Young girls, some of whom even before attaining puberty were married to old men who have other wives. Devdasi system. This was a Hindu custom to dedicate girls to serve in temples. The term Devdasi means female servant of God. The girls were dedicated to sing and dance before the idols. But corrupt priest and worshipper used them to satisfy their lust. Thus, the Devdasi became sacred prostitutes. It is needless to say that this practice spoiled the atmosphere of the temples. There was gross idolatry, and man was busy making gods and goddesses in his own image. Hence, the gods and goddesses have the same moral weaknesses that man has. Female infanticide. Among the high caste, dowry was the deciding factor in marriage. Therefore, many parents consider it a liability to have girls' babies, for it was the girl's father who had to pay the dowry to the boy's father. This extravagant expenditure led to the cruel practice of letting girls' babies to die. Female infanticide was common among the economically poor. Human or animal sacrifice. There was a belief that some of the gods and goddesses required human sacrifices, and that such sacrifices are highly meritorious. For this purpose, often children were kidnapped and slaughtered, and their blood was offered specially to the goddess Kali in order to please her and to get benefits from her.